Hey, we're up to a new parak, Daf Sadik Ches on the base, and we shift away from the nitty gritty of the actual bringing of the carbon to the halachas of individuals regarding the carbon. So we're discussing. The Mishnah says Tful Yom u'Mechusik Purim ein echolkim b'kachim lechal le'erev. So a Tful Yom is a person who, of course, was tamei. He went to the mikvah, and he's waiting for Herav Shemesh. He's not able to eat kachim. He's not able to eat kachim at that time. Mechusik Purim, I've told you umpteen times, is a person who had tumah coming out of his body. Azov, a mitzayra, yoledes, and that's a person who had tumah coming out of their body. And as a result, it's tumah mochamura, and it's more than a full yard. They have to bring a carbon. They have to bring a carbon in order to go ahead and eat kachim. However, fellas, they don't have to wait for nightfall. In other words, you're a mechusik Purim, you are at full yom beforehand. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to bring it at nightfall, you're going to bring the carbon. You're going to, during the day, you'll bring the carbon, and right afterwards, you'll go to mikvah, and you'll be able to eat. So now, you have a full yom and mechusik Purim. Ein echolkim b'kachim lechol. They don't get a piece of the action to eat in the evening, right? When they become tar. You might think that they're going to be tar, and therefore they should be able to go ahead and eat. Kamash Malon that they can't. Next then, an oinen, the day of a person who's misabel over a certain relative, right? That's what's called aninus, is noigeya. He's able to go ahead and touch the carbon, and he's not tamei. In other words, he's telling us halacha that he's not tamei. You might think that he's tamei because he's not tamei. The ain't a makriv, but an oinen is asa to do the avoida. An oinen can't do the avoida except for the kohen gadol. But an oinen cannot do the avoida of kabbanis, of kachim. The ain't a choylik lechol le'erev, and an oinen does not go ahead and get a piece of the action to eat in the evening, even though in the evening the ninas is drabanan, we could see lechayra, he should be able to eat kachim. We'll see machlokes regarding different karbanis, but he doesn't get a piece of the action during the day. Okay, here is a yotzim in a klal from what we just said. Balmumim, a kohen that's a balmum, being balimumim oivrim, whether it's a balmum that the mum is going to go away, being balimumim kvuin, whether it's a balmum that is kaideya, whether it's a balmum that is going to be what? Permanent. Cholkin, they divide it up for oichlin and they eat. They divide it up and they eat. They divide it up and they eat, even though they can't do the avoida. Guys, even though they can't do the avoida. So, avaloi makrivim, even though they can't do the avoida, they can't be makriv. And here's the rule of thumb: kol she'ena roila avoida, eina chalik bebasa. If you can't do the avoida, you don't get a piece of the action. Now, that's a stira. You just told me balmum can't do the avoida. It does get a piece of the action. The Gemara will ask like kasha. B'chol she'en loy basa, and anyone who doesn't get a piece of basa, ein loy ba'oris. The kahanim would get the skins as well as the meat, and if you don't get a piece of the meat, you won't get what? You won't get the skin. Afilu tamei b'shas srikas damim, even if it was tamei at the time of the srika. However, v'tar b'shas hakaras chalavim. So we know that there's different parts of the avoida. The carbon is considered complete. That is, with the srika stam, the carbon is, for all intents and purposes, accepted. It's what we call murutza. It's accepted after you do the srika sadam. And there's another part that the himurim have to be burnt, right? If he's not able to go ahead and get b'shas zrika, even though he would be able to be available, he's not tamei at the time of the eina chaylik b'bas. He's not getting a piece of the action. You have to be at the time of the zrika. You have to be roy to go ahead and do the avodah. Shnemar hamaker v'stam ashlamim v'sachelev v'mei aroin. Right? Ti shoyk haimin lemana. So it says, speaking about two things. Hamaker v'sadam is the zrika sadam. V'sachelev, and what do you do with the chelev? You burn it. V'sachelev v'mei aroin. Ti shoyk haimin lemana. So we're going to focus on this evening first the din at full yom, and then we're going to focus on the din of einin. So again, at full yom and a mechusik Purim, even though after you do the avoida, they will be able to eat. Since b'shas the avoida they weren't able to eat, right? They weren't able to eat. That's the rule of thumb. They weren't able to eat. They're not going to be up. Their avoida will not be. They will not get a piece of the action. Now says the Minani Mili. How do you know? Now it's a little shverlich. How do you know? Because you brought a pasuk in the Mishnah. How do you know? So this is a big a lot of rate on this. Minani mili. How do you know that? How do you know what? That a full yoim is not chaylik b'kotchim. How do you know that a full yoim is not chaylik b'kotchim? So you could say full yoim can't do the avodah, right? He's not royalist rika. I mean, we had a pasuk. So why are you bringing another pasuk? Okay. Amar Reish Lakish, Damar Kroi brings a pasuk. Hakoyin mechata isoyach. So again, just for the umpteenth time, this beautiful sharing of that parsha of Hayikra Vav that I sent out a long time ago. So Zoistar sachatas mokum shetichosh la'oile tishachet achatas l'fnei Hashem kodesh kadoshim hi pasuk yites hakoyin mechata isa the koyin that spritzes hamachata the one that brings the dam yochlenes should eat it. We have b'makom kadosh teyachol. So you see, the one who does the avodah, he's the one who eats. So it's mashma at this point in time that the ability to eat meat and get meat, a piece of the action, is totally in hamachate, the ability to do the avodah. If you do this rika, l'chari, you should be able to go ahead, man, and she'ena machata. If and the kohen does not do the avodah, eina eichel. So right now, what would it totally contingent upon what doing the avodah? Nothing tzadik teslam at aleph. We began a new parak. So now the kohen that mechata, the kohen. So right now we're saying anything depends upon the avodah. If you could do the avodah, you get a piece of the action. If you can't do the avodah, you don't get a piece of the action. And since it's full yoim, can't do the avodah, he shouldn't get a piece of the action. That's what right now you're thinking. Says the Gemara incredulously, the klalahu is this is a klal of this is a etched in stone. V'harei mishmara kula. You have the whole mishma. We know that they were broken up. There were 24 mishmarim that were broken up to 6 bati of, and the kohen did. Let's say one kohen bought it, but we know they all got a piece of the action, right? Mishmara kula de mechatin. They don't go ahead wide, and they don't do the avodah. Only one kohen is doing the avodah. V'oichlin, and they go ahead wide, and they still eat. So how can you tell me the only one who eats is the one who actually does the avodah? It's not true. The mishmar gets it, even though what they don't do the avodah. Says the Gemara, Roy lechitu kamin. I didn't mean that he actually does the avodah, but Roy lechitu. A full yom is not Roy lechitu. The rest of the mishma that are tahar are Roy lechitu. The rest of the mishma that are they're Roy lechitu. So Mamela, since they're Roy lechitu, they're not. Then they get a piece of the action. Fred Gemara Vari Kotin, a young Kayin, the ain't a roy lechitoi. He's not roy lechitoi. He can't do the avodah, right? He can't do the avodah. V'oichel, and he eats anyway. Elamai yochlena. When it says the pasuk hakoyin amachata so yochlena, the koyin that spritzes will eat it. Eating it doesn't mean eating it, but yichal kena. It means the koyin that is the avodah gets a piece of the action. And therefore, this is the source that a full yom does not get a piece of the action. In other words, right now, until now, we've been discussing eating. Right now, we're discussing what? Getting a piece of the action, getting a division. So here's the way you read the pasuk. The kohen that goes there and does the avodah, who spitzes the dam, yichlena, does not mean eating, but it means yichal kena, he will get a piece of the action. He will get a piece of the action. And therefore what? A cotton could eat, and the regular kohen can eat, even though the mishma could eat. Because as long as he's divided up, you get something. So it's full yom does not get it, and therefore what? So no, it's not dependent upon the ability to do the avodah. It depends upon the ability to receive the meat. The cotton can receive the meat. The mishma can receive the meat, and since they can receive the meat, right? They get it. Okay. Now, roy lechita chaylik, shein roy lechita and chaylik. Someone who's roy lechita to do the avodah gets the piece of the action. If you're not roy lechita, ain't chaylik. So therefore, the cotton that lechayra is roy lechita. I mean, he's not. There's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with him. Since there's nothing wrong with him, therefore, what he would get a piece. Let's see Rashi on this nakuda. Yichal kena. We're 4 lines down. Rashi, where it gets thin, 2 lines down. Yichal kena. And this, therefore, the kohen that could is roy to do the avodah. He gets a piece of the action. Full yom is not. Okay, we're good. So far, so far we're good. Okay. Hari balmum. Now I'm going to destroy your rule. A balmum, the ain't a roy lechitoi. He can't do the avoid. He's not roy lechitoi. He can't do the avoida. So the balmum that's not roy lechitoi, and nonetheless v'choilik, and nonetheless he gets a piece of the action. So what's your rule? If you're roy to do the zrika, you get a piece of the action. Balmum is not. Says the Gemara, balmum rachmona rabia. The Torah goes ahead and is marba the balmum. Kol zacha b'kohanim. The pasuk says, guys, kol zacha b'kohanim, yoichal oisa, kodesh kodashim hu. Right? Kol. This is again. I love this. Pasuk of Beis. Kol zacha. I know we got such mileage out of this. Is gewaldig, no? Kol zacha b'kohanim, yoichal oisa, kodesh kodashim hu. Now, guys. Read my lips. Kol zacha b'kohanim, balmum, yochal osa, eats it. So therefore, I have a pasuk to teach me that what? That the balmum eats. So therefore, it must be the pasuk. I don't need a pasuk to tell me it eats. If you look at Rashi, Rashi tells you have another pasuk to tell me that. You have another pasuk to tell me that. Right. This pasuk is speaking about getting a piece of the action. In other words, fellas, there's two ways you can eat. It's yours, or your fellow Kohen shares it with you. So it's telling you that the Balmum gets his own piece of the action, even though he can't do the Avodah. That's the kasha. But of course you have a pasuk. Now, continues Rashi. This pasuk is speaking about chalukah, fellas. Now, even though it says the word yochal, it does not mean yochal. You know why? Because the havehedya kasivvei uminakotshim yochal. We have a pasuk that says the balmum openly eats. So, fellas, look at pasuk of base. Kol zacha b'kahanim yochalasa. Any balmum yochalasa gets a piece of the action. Because I have other pasuk teaching me you could eat, so I don't need this pasuk. Even though it says lashon of achila, it doesn't mean achila. It means it gets chalukah. So Freding Marakasha, you have a rule that anyone who is roy lechitoi gets a piece of the action. A balmum is not roy to get not roy to the chitoi. Says the Gemara, we have a pasuk to go ahead and be mar balmum. I that pasuk speaking about achila. That pasuk, even though we use the lashon of eichel, is not speaking about achila. We have another pasuk, Vayikra Chaf Aleph. We have another pasuk to teach me that. So this pasuk teach me that the balmum gets a piece. Okay, very geschmack. The ema kol zachar l'rabis tful yoin. Now, when it says kol zachar, any male, it doesn't say balmum. Why do you opt to go in that direction? I could have opted and say it's tful yoin. Maybe it's tful yoin gets a piece of the action. Yeah, why not? Guess what? The balmum comes the evening. Can he do the avodah? The tful yoin comes the evening. Could he do the avodah? Yeah. So who is more, in theory, more in the ballpark? The tful yoin. So frag the Gemara kasha. Right. Be'ema, let us say kol zacha l'rabas tful yoin. When the pasuk says kol zacha, it does not mean to include a balmum. It means to include a tful yoin. On that, the Gemara comments, Mistabra Balmum Havilelu Rabbi. There's more of a reason to say that a Balmum gets a piece of the action, Shekein Eichel, because he's able to eat kachim, where the Tful Yoim cannot. As a matter of fact, if the Tful Yoim touches kachim, it becomes Tamei, right? So in other words, you're right. So the Gemara says, Adarabba, Tful Yoim Havilelu Rabbi. I shouldn't say Kol Zacha means a Tful Yoim. Because in the evening he could do the Avodah. Good. In the evening, you can do the avodah. So on one side, I have a pro that the balmum eats kachim. On the other side, I have a pro that the full yoim can do the avodah in the evening. So the kasher is, why did you opt to go in the direction of the balmum? You could have just as easily gone in the direction and said it's full yoim gets a piece of the action. On that Gemara comments, hashdamiyah halechasi. Good. In the evening, he'll be in the ballpark, right? But yet, what does yetz mean? Yeah. Now, there he goes. We have Nassim, we have a Yiddish speaking person here. Look, Nassim.
Yeah. I'm sitting in the college section over here. Mamza.
What? We're being recorded, Nassim. You're being recorded and you have kids in Shidduchim. So anyway, so Okay, anyway, so anyway, so, anyway, so it's geschmack. So we're telling you right now he can't do the avodah. Since he can't do the avodah right now, therefore he doesn't get a piece of the action. He's not roy lechitoi. The balmum is not roy levayda. We have a pasuk to include the balmum, and it doesn't include the tful yoim because he can't do it the action right now. Rabbi Yosef Amar. Rabbi Yosef says I don't have to. The pasuk itself is speaking about a balmum. It's not speaking about what a tful yoim. How do I know? Rabbi Yosef Michti ma yochlena yichalkena. Right, guys. We said kol zacher b'kahanim yochel, right? So why did it use the lashon of yochlena? Why did it use the koyin mechata isa yochlena? I'm sorry, brought the wrong pasuk. Koyin mechata isa yochlena, guys. I'm attaching yochlena what yichalkena. Why did the Torah use the lashon of achila for chalukah? Balmum eats. So in other words, obviously it can be speaking at full yoim. At full yoim can't eat. So when it uses the lashon of achila, it's mistaba to speaking about what? It's speaking about someone who can eat, and that person who can eat, yichal kena. The balmum that can eat, yichal kena. The full yoim that can't eat, not. Okay. So in other words, you guys, he doesn't. Rabbi Yosef is substantiating that with the pasuk speaking about a balmum, but not because of a svara that what this has a bigger pro than that has a bigger pro. No, the pasuk itself is crying out. It's speaking about a balmum because it says yochlena for the lashon of yichalkena. So a balmum gets a piece of the action as opposed to its full yoim, which cannot eat, doesn't get a piece of the action. Okay. Shmamina royal achila chaylik shein royachila ein a chaylik. Boy reish lakish. Okay, guys, you have a following question. Listen to this. Balmum hu tamei. Yibal balmum v'hu tamei. Mahu sheichakol. Does he get a piece of the action? Kivid lechazi, since he's not in the ballpark at all. V'rachmana rabya loishna balmum loishna mali tamei mali balmum. Aydilma roy lechila chaylik shein roy lechila ein a chaylik. All right, guys, let's look at this. Let's look at the kasha. Should a balmum get? Should a balmum get? Not really, right? The balmum should get. He's not roy lechitoi. Guys, guys, look at me. Guys, look at me. The balmum is not roy to go ahead and do the avodah. Yet he gets. Now, if he's tamei, is he ready to do the avodah? No. So nothing really changed. The only thing is he can't eat. But who cares? He can't eat. He couldn't. In other words, it's a connection. You have to be able to go ahead and do the avodah in order to eat. We had a pasuk to say a balmum is different. Even though he can't do the avodah, right, he can eat. So now, what happens if we're adding on another reason he can't do the avodah? Why? Because he's tamei. Now it's no different anyway. He couldn't do the avodah whether he's tamei. He couldn't do the avodah whether he's not tamei. So maybe he'd get a piece of the action. That's one way to look at it. Dilma, you need roy lachila, and he's not roy lachila. So those are the two tzadim over here. Very lamdish shayla. One more time. Boy reish lakish. Balmum v'hu tamei. He's got two problems. There's a balmum and he's tamei. Mahu sheichalku. Does he get a piece of the action? Kivin loichazi v'rachmana rabya. Since he's not chazi to do the avodah, yet nonetheless the Torah included him. Therefore, loishna mali tamei mali balmum. Dilma roy lachila chaylik shein roy lachila ein a chaylik. Maybe someone what is roy lachila would eat and someone not. Let's see Rashi here, guys. Kivon de lechazi laavoida lechitoi. He's not roy to spritz. Va'afilu mikame tuma, and even before he was tamei. V'rachmana rabya, and the Torah included him lechaluka, and the Torah nonetheless included him that he got a piece of the action. Hilkach mali kishu balmum lechudei. Malik Shutame Ubalmum, right? It doesn't make a difference. Either way, he was an exception, so the exception will continue, even though he's Tame and Balmum, it'll continue. The whole like Karina Bey Amachta Meikara, we didn't call him Koyin Hamachata because he's not in the he's out of the ballpark. Upolig, and nonetheless he's getting a piece of the action. Hashtanami Niflag, you should get a piece of the action. Or no, or do we say what? Since he can't eat, that's it. So in other words, eating. Since he can't eat now, even though he can eat when he's not tamei, maybe it doesn't make a difference. You have to be able to eat now. Omar Rabba, guys, we're going to be pushed at the shaila like the second side. Guys, we're going to be pushed at the shaila quickly like the second side. In other words, I'm going to give you a case where a person who could do the avodah, but he can't eat, and therefore he doesn't get a piece of the action. Because you hear? I'm going to give you a case of a person who can do the avodah. He can do the avodah. He can't eat, and therefore he doesn't get a piece of the action. So Memela will be poishit that a balmum who can't eat. Why? Because he's tamei, can't get a piece of the action. That's going to be the pashtus. Toshma, kohen gadol, makrev oinin. Even though an oinin can't do the avodah, that's a regular kohen. The kohen gadol could be makrev oinin. Right? We learn it from Aaron that it could be makrev oinin because the kohen gadol, it says he can't leave the migdash. Right? Oinin ve'ena oichel, and he doesn't eat. Ve'ena chaylik, and he doesn't get a piece of the action. Lechol be'erev. So what do you see, fellas? What's the criteria? Not being able to eat. He's able to do the avodah, he can't eat. So when they like we place the shaila by balmum, even though normally he could eat, now he's tamei, like the kohen gadol. Now he's an oinen, right? So just like the kohen, even though he does the avodah, but you like to that what he's an oinen, he can eat, and therefore why he doesn't get a piece of the action. Who hadin the balmum that's tamei? Since he can't eat, he will not get a piece of the action. Shmamina, we're placed the shaila. Another shaila. Shmamina roy lachila bini. You need roy lachila. Shmamina, you place it. Now we know that tum is hutra b'tziba, right? That tum is hutra, hutcha. The roy of the kahanim, tummy tumis mace, they can do the avodah. Boy Rabbi Shaya, tamei b'kabanis tzibor. He's tamei. He's b'kabanis tzibor. Now, maushi yechalkuloi. Now, guys, even though you do the avodah, you can't eat. Only by Korban Pesach could you eat. But if let's say the kohen does the avodah, they can't eat. You can't right. So if you look at Rashi, go down a little bit. Maushi echalkuloi, go down right, parallel to our Gemara a little bit down. Maushi echalkuloi mikorban sibur lechol leerev. Does he get a piece of the korban sibur to eat in the evening? Ubekorban sibur shikrivu tohirim kamoi boile. We're speaking about a korban sibur that was bought by tohirim. Good, and he's tamei. Ipalgimine lahai tamei. If you're going to go ahead and give a piece to this tamei, why? The korban sibur daichatama. Guys, so here's a shaila, a similar shaila with a different kanech. This kohen is tamei now. This guy's look at me. This kohen is tamei now. He's tamei, but the avodah he's doing is a korban sibur. A korban sibur tum is hutra, the korban sibur or hutcha. In other words, there's a waiver that if you're tamei, if roiv the kahanim are tamei, roiv the kahal, they can bring it. Good. So now let's look at him. He can't eat right now. He can't eat right now, right? But he could do the avodah. Why could, if he was, in other words, there is, even though it's being bought by a Torah person, we can view this tamei as a guy whose possibility right to do the avodah in a scenario, right? What's the scenario? If most of the kahal was tamei, or most of the kahanim were tamei, right? So would he get a piece of the action or not? That's the Katmar's kasha. Would he get a piece of the action or not? Or do we say, since he can't eat, he can't eat, right? Since we say he can't eat, so it's a similar shaila with the same teretz. Boy Rabbi Tamei, the Kabbanis Tzibur. Now the Kabbanis Tzibur is bought by a Torah person. Guys, it's Kasha v'Yasha, but he happens to be Tamei. Maushi Echalkuloi, does he get a piece? Mi Amrina Machata Amrachman Abu Nami Machata who. In other words, it's the one who does the avodah, and he's ready to do the avodah betuma. Aydilma royal achila chaylik. Shein royal achila ain't a chaylik, and therefore he can't get a piece of the action. Ravina same teretz tashma kohen gadol makriv oinin ve'ena oichel ve'ena chaylik lechol erev. And nonetheless, even though he can do the avodah, he can't eat. If he can't eat, ain't a chaylik, he doesn't get a piece of the action. Shmamino royal achila bin shmamino would place the shaila. So Yitzim and what do we see so far this evening? We saw a Tful Yom, a pasuk that said, the pasuk told us that a Tful Yom can't do the avodah because it means what? It means roy lechitoy. You need roy lechitoy, and we also said that lashon of yechlena is yechalkena. So one who's roy lechita gets a piece of the action. Someone who's not roy lechita does not get a piece of the action. That's the Tful Yom. A balmum can't do the piece. A balmum can't do the avodah. Yet he gets a piece of the action. We have a pasuk to include the balmum. Kol zachar. Fred the Gemara. Why do we include the balmum rather than the Tful Yom? We have two terutzim. Either the fact that the balmum can't do it now, he's not royal avoida now. Or the pasuk Rabbi Yosef, the teretz, it said yochlena, and we say yechalkena. Who gets a piece of yechalkena? The one yochlena. Since it's full young can't eat, he doesn't get a piece of the action. Since the Balmum can, he does get a piece of the action. We then had two shilas. What's the din of Balmum is tamei? What's the din of a coin that's tamei by carbon sibor? In both cases, since they can eat, they're chaylik, they don't get a piece of the action. Okay, the Mishnah said, fellas, oinin noigeya ve'enei makriv. An oinin can touch, meaning he's not matama the carbon. Ve'enei makriv is he can't do the avodah. Fred the Gemara, oinin noigeya. So guys, we're gonna have a stira now from a Mishnah in Zevachim to a Mishnah in Chagiga. Fellas, we're gonna spend a little time on this. So let's get it down straight. You can have a stira. Over here, we're saying that an oinin can go in fact touch kachim. An oinin can in fact touch kachim. And in the Mishnah, the Mishnah in Chagiga in Perachayim Mekaydish cannot. Uriminu oinin u'mechusa kippurim tzrichim tefila lekaydesh. In order for them to touch kachim, they have to go ahead and be toivel. So our Mishnah says what he can touch it without tefillah, and this Mishnah says you can touch it only with tefillah. So Rav Ami, Rav Yochanan, like kasha, kan b'shetaval. Our Mishnah speaking where you went to the mikvah, kan b'shaloi taval, and the Mishnah what in Chagiga is speaking where you didn't go to the mikvah. So if you went to the mikvah, the oinin could touch. If you didn't go to the mikvah, you can't touch. Our Mishnah speaking, we went to the mikvah. The Mishnah Chagiga, you didn't go to the mikvah. Fred the Gemara, v'chitavo my have, hahodra Allah aninus. Guys, so you went to the mikvah, but an oinin is an oinin. A duck is a duck. That's the way it is. The Amar Rabbi Rav Huna, oinin shetaval aninus chayzeres alav. It doesn't go away. So what did you gain to tell me in our Mishnah that a toivel you could go ahead and touch the kachim like kasha? Hada asich daita, hada loy asich daita. In other words, the kohen had to be aware at all times that of his sense of purity, his status of purity. He had to keep in mind, he couldn't let his mind drift. If the kohen let his mind drift, he have to go to the mikvah. Now so we're speaking over here where he had hesach hadas. If you had hesach hadas, you have to go to the mikvah. But our Mishnah is speaking where he didn't have hesach hadas, where he did not. Good? So, like kasha, says the Gemara, hesach hadas, if the kohen was unaware, if he lost total, what do you mean goes to the mikvah? He needs more than the mikvah. Shlishi v'shivi, boy, fellas. He needs, in other words, you have hesach hadas, he has to take the possibility into account that maybe he's coming to mismace. Guys, if he wasn't the kohen, again, the kahanim, it's a tough job, the kahanim. They really had to be like squeaky clean. So if you're telling me that he has a hadas, so let's go to the extreme. How is tefillah enough? Maybe he had hesach hadas, he was unaware. Maybe he was exposed to tumas mace. Good. And guys, Beprat and Oinain has a lot on his mind, right? And Oinain is thinking about the kfura and the misa. He's got a lot on his mind. It makes a lot of sense that he would be misiach das from tuma, right? Says the Gemara, Amrav Yistoi Bar Masan, Amrav Yochanan, Hesach Hadas Tzarach Hazash Lishi Shvi. So what are you telling me? You're telling me the following. You're telling me that our Mishnah is speaking where he didn't have Hesach Hadas, and the Mishnah in Chagiga is where he did have Hesach Hadas. And it says tefillah is okay. Fred the Gemara, how could tefillah be okay? You need spritzing a paradum on day 3 and 7 if he's masach das. Says Gemara Kasha, Hada asach daite mitame meis, Hada asach daite mitame sheretz. In other words, there's different levels of Hesach Hadas. There's different levels. So in other words, if a kohen loses his train of thought, he'll never lose his train of thought when it comes to Tamei Mace. It's so severe that that's always on his mind. Even in the state of aninus, that's on his mind. But Efsha, Sheretz, he'll see a mouse or a rat or a chves, or a dead snake or something. In that case, what? That he may be Mesach Das. And tefillah is enough for what a Sheretz. You don't need spritzing 3 and 7. Says the Gemara, Tamei Sheretz Tumim Al Yehu, Herav Shemesh boy. Guys, how's tefillah enough? How's tefillah enough? L'chari you need tefillah and Herav Shemesh. V'oid, afilu trumanami. If he has Hesach Hadas, then forget about kachim, that Einan can't touch kachim, he shouldn't even be able to touch truma. Yes? Okay, so guys, 2 kachas. Look at me, please, this is a hard Gemara. We got a stira. Our Mishnah says that Einin could touch it. The Mishnah in Chagiga says the Einin cannot touch it. Yeah? We have a teretz now. Our Mishnah speaking where he was toivel. The Mishnah there in speaking where he wasn't toivel. Why? How was feeling up? He was hesach hadas. Hesach hadas. You have to worry about mace. No, he's hesach hadas from mat. He's not hesach hadas from mace. He's only hesach hadas from mat from sheretz. Freding Mar hesach hadas from sheretz. How could tefillah alone work? You would need herav shemesh in addition to what the sun setting. In addition to what to the tefillah. In addition, if that's the case, also that it's speaking about tefillah yom, a tefillah yom can be mitama truma also as well. Okay, before we begin the next Gemara, a little hakdama that we've seen many times. Many times. Midoraisa. Most of the tumas are very, very, Midoraisa is very much set. The Avi Avoisa Tuma is a dead body. Anyone who touches the dead body is Tami Tumas Mace. Anyone who touches Tumas Mace is a Rishon. Now, a Rishon, an Avatuma can be Mitama Adam Bekalim. An Avatuma cannot be, can be Mitama Adam Bekalim. A Rishon Latuma, something that touches an Av, can be Mitama Oichalu Mashka, food, but it cannot be Tama Kalim, right? Now, a Rishon can be Tama Sheni for Chulin, and Truma Shlishi, and Kachim Revi. Good, those are the levels. But the Lashon of Poisel means it stops here. Poisel means it's Tamei, but it stops. Tamei means it's Tamei and it can transmit it one more level. So Poisel means it contracts Tama. The Lashon Tamei means not only does it contract Tama, it can go ahead and pass it down another level. So what we have to know for the shir tonight is the 3 and the 4. By Truma and by Kachim. By Truma, the level of 3, Kachim, the level of 4. Let's see what we got. Again, we have 2 kashas, right? One, the Mishnah in Chagiga, it's mashma tefillah is enough. Why should tefillah be enough? You'd have to need to have a shemesh. In addition, why do you limit the tefillah to what? If it's speaking about his toivel for sheretz, why? And the Chavi should go ahead and say in your truma as well. It says the Gemara, Yirmiyah ba'omer nishmarti midova hametamani. I was shomer from something that is tamei tumas daraisa. V'lo nishmarti midova hapaislani, and I was not nishma from something that will go ahead and passel truma derabanan. Says Rashi, Hachigasinan, 4 lines up. I was careful from something that would metama me. But not something that would passel me. The boy hair of shemesh. Something that's metamani is tuma daraisa that would require hair of shemesh. I was careful for that. I wasn't mesech das from that. So I don't need hair of shemesh. Guys, I was careful not to be metama tuma daraisa. So Memela says the Mishnah Chagiga, I don't have to be tired. Whatever tuma I have, tefillah is enough. I would not require hair of shemesh. Why? Because it's not tuma deraisa. I was careful for that. Next, but I wasn't careful something hapoislani leachilas kachim midrabanon that would go ahead and stop me from eating kachim midrabanon. What do we need, guys? What do we need to fit? Here's what we have to fit in. We have to fit in. How come the Mishnah in Chagiga does not allow you to touch this? That's what we have to fit in. What's the answer? I was careful to watch that I wasn't contracting a tumah that requires anything more than tefillah. So therefore, your question is, if I go to the mikvah, I'd have to have hair shemesh. No. I was careful. Any tumah of that level, you don't have to worry about. What do you have to worry about? A tumah that would passel me. A tumah that would passel you would be only what? That the mikvah would be enough. So now, the Mishnah Chagiga, this is an einin, goes to the mikvah, is speaking about an individual kayin who was not careful in a tumah derabanan. Memela, since he wasn't careful in tumah derabanan, before he touches the what, he'd have to go ahead and since he didn't, he can't touch it. That's the Mishnah in Chagiga. That's the Mishnah in Chagiga. Now, we had to fit in a case, a small case. Let's finish Rashi. Lachilas kachim rabbanan leiboy erev shemesh. V'chein legabe truma. Boimer loy nishmarti midava hapaslani mitruma. I wasn't careful something that would pass the truma. Ushinui dechike. It's a guys, nothing. It's a gekvetchte teretz. Shnui dechika. It's a gekvetchte teretz. And we're not, guys, listen to what he's saying. Guys, you guys listen to this. I was careful, but not so much, I was careful like this, but I wasn't careful like this. This is as Uncle Eli would say, this is a legal loophole trying to get the way out, but no, I'm not buying it. Rabbi, Uncle Elliot went to like this. David, you remember Uncle Elliot? David, you were around when Uncle Elliot was here? David Friedman. No, you weren't around. Oh, okay. Anyway.
See the movies.
Yeah.
You have old timers day, maybe bring everyone back.
He's dead.
No, can't bring him back.
Uncle Elliot, you can't bring Uncle Elliot back. If I could, I'd bring Mom back too. Anyway, so and Dad, and once I'm at it, Dad as well. Okay, so anyway, so Geschmack. See, here's the teretz, guys. Here's the kasha. Here's the teretz. We have a Mishnah over here that says Einin could touch. We have a Mishnah in Chagiga that says an Einin can't touch. Our Mishnah is speaking about where he went to the mikvah. There it's speaking about where he didn't go to the mikvah. Says the Gemara, if he goes to the mikvah, right? What kind of tumah could it be that he's going to the mikvah? So speaking where it was Hesach Hadas. It was Hesach Hadas, he had to go to the mikvah. So our Mishnah is speaking, guys, what? We went to the mikvah. He went to the mikvah. How can you have Herav Shemesh? How is that enough? Because he was careful. He's careful tumah what, right? Our Mishnah is speaking about Hesach Hadas. Our Mishnah, I said before, the Mishnah there is speaking, there was no Hesach Hadas. Therefore, tefillah is not going to help you. Our Mishnah is speaking where there's tefillah. Why would tefillah help you for? Where you were nizer for tumah deraisa, but not for tumah derabanan. So, frag the Gemara kasha. Umi ikan tirusa lepalga. Can you possibly watch yourself halfway? Says, guys, you hear? It's not the Mishnah in Chagiga that you have to answer up. It's our Mishnah. I said incorrectly. The Mishnah in Chagiga is speaking where you didn't go to the mikveh, therefore you can't touch. Our Mishnah that says that you could touch is speaking where you were careful in your deraisa, but not the rabbanan. Our Mishnah. So first of all, Mika Nitirusa Lepalga in Iva Tanya. This is a raya, guys. This is a raya. Vatanya is a proof. Vatanya, Aidel, Bisal, Al Roishai. Guys has fruit in a basket. It's on his head. It's dried figs. Dried figs is an Arab. That doesn't flip. And you have dried figs on his head. He's carrying on his head. And what does he have in there? Umagrefa b'seichai. He has the magrefa. That's the tool, the iron tool to separate the two. Guys, what do we want to prove from this? That you can be miser in one thing and not the other. V'omar libi al asal. My thought was on the sal, and therefore the sal is going to be tahar. V'yein libi ala magrefa. But I wasn't thinking about the shovel. Asal tahar magrefa tameya. Okay, so what do you see, fellas? Before we delve into this, you see that it's possible to be careful in one thing and not another thing, right? You be careful in one thing and not another thing. Now, here's the question. Okay, now, if you're telling me that your mind was on the sal and not on the magrefa, so a sal tar magrefa tameya, v'tetam magrefa l'sal, let the magrefa go ahead and make the sal tame. Now, at most, what is the magrefa? It's a rishon. In other words, the sal, guys, it got tummy from an avatuma. That makes a rishon. Rishon can't be metama. Kela. Says the Gemara, ain kli metama kli. So the magrefa is the kli, the sal is the kli, and can't be metama the kli. Fred the Gemara with the tama masha b'tzaychay. So let the magrefa be metama the figs, because that it could. No. This the chayra. But even if I had my mind on the sal, it's being touched. That's the sal. The fruit is being touched by the magrefa. Now we're speaking about the fruit. Amarava ba'omer shmartia midava hametama. I watched it from something that metama v'lo shmartia midava hapaisla. I watched it, guys. Look at me.
It's a different.
Watch. Beautiful. I watched the magrefa to the extent that it itself will come tameh, but paisla, it would stop right there, and therefore it won't be metama the fruit. But I was careful not to watch it. I was careful to watch the level of metama in order not to metama the fruit. Okay, so that answers up the again the shovel can't be metama the sal because it's a rishon. it could be matama the fruit, but I was careful to watch it that it's something that it itself will be tamei, but it won't go ahead and be matama something else. But what do I get from this? What do I want from this? I wanted to prove that you can go ahead and split up the tumah. That's okay. Anyway, it seems no one was buying this teretz because the Gemara says the Gemara, Igalgal Milsa. The matter was rolling around. This kasha was rolling around. This stira, guys. This stira from the Mishnah in Chagiga that says an oinen cannot touch. To our Mishnah was, and they weren't buying this teretz of this halfway tumah. They weren't. It wasn't working out well. So Igalgal Milsa. Umate lekame the Rav Abba b'Amamol, and it came in front of Rav Abba b'Amamol. Amalei, he said, "Leishmiya lo hod Amar Rabbi Yochanan Amar Rabbi." Did you not hear what Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rabbi? Ha'oichel shlishi shel truma. If you eat a truma that was matama, the level of shlishi, now you become a shlishi. Therefore, asel lechol, it's asel for you to eat. Umuta liga, and it's muta to touch. So even though you became a shlishi, right? You remain paisel, but it doesn't transmit further. Alma be'achila avi rabbanan maila, regarding achila, that they made a maila, that it's tamei. Benegia, our Mishnah le'avi rabbanan maila. The Mishnah in Chagiga is speaking, right? He wants to eat kachim, guys. So le'inyan, what we said, eating kachim, he can't do. He can't eat kachim. Right? He said a shlishi can make a revi, but our Mishnah is speaking where he just wants to touch. So it's only going to stop at that level, and therefore it won't transmit it to the other level. In other words, achila is more chama than negia. So regarding achila, that's the Mishnah in Kachim, the oinen can't touch because he wants to eat it. Regarding our Mishnah, it's just touching, and therefore what? It would stop there. Let's says Rashi. Mutaliga betruma the eina nasa gufay elishlishi kimoya meichel. Just like he eats it, she'achal v'asel echel truma. He can't eat truma. Aval mutaliga. He can't eat, but he could touch. Alma milis of rabbanan be'achila. They made a more chomidik ba'achila that he can't eat it. The lesson who b'negia, but it doesn't exist by negia. V'gabi oinin nami hadit nan oinin tzarich tefila be'achila. That's the Mishnah in Kach in Chagiga. He wants to eat it. For that, you have to be toivel. Our Mishnah is speaking what, but right, it's just touching, and therefore you don't have to go ahead. Okay, let's stira outside. Our Mishnah, an oinen can touch. The Mishnah in Chagiga, the oinen can't touch. First teretz. For our Mishnah speaking, we had hesach hadas, right? He had hesach hadas, right? And since he had hesach hadas, he requires tefillah. What does it help? Hesach hadas for tefillah. Doesn't he have a shemesh? Speaking about one that's the rabbanan, right? Speaking of the rabbanan, and second teretz, no. Our Mishnah is speaking about with touching. That Mishnah is speaking about eating. They're more chomer in eating than touching. Where do we see that? If you ate truma shlishi, you become a shlishi. That's only regarding eating. Regarding touching, not. So Mishnah there in Chagiga is speaking where you want to eat. Therefore, you can't touch it because you're more chomer eating. Our Mishnah is speaking where you just want to touch it. Therefore, that. Okay, so the oinen cannot get a piece of the action, guys. The oinen can't get a piece of the action. Mashma miflaku delay polig. He can divide up. However, mizamne lei ochel. Mashma, if the kohen would invite him, he could eat. Guys, making the diak. An oinen doesn't get a piece of the action. What happens about eating? If the kohen would invite him to eat, mashma he could. It's mashma the kohen. In other words, can an oinen eat kachim or not? It's mashma over here that he could. Why? Because it's saying he can't get a division of it. He can't get a division of it, but what? But he could get what? He could be invited to eat by a fellow kohen. Says the Gemara, Urimini, I'll ask you a stira. So we have two stiras tonight. We have Mishnah to Chagiga, now we have our Mishnah to Psachim. Uriminu. Oinin, take out the words from Chusuk Kippurim. Oinin toivel, v'oichel es pischoi le'erev. Avaloi b'kotchim. One of your relative dies, is kfura, comes nightfall, you could eat the Korban Pesach. You cannot eat kachim. The MS, it's only during the day that Aninus is deraisa. Comes nighttime, it's the Rabbanon. So
also not time.
What? Not Toma, just morning. Einen, no name. So now,
They say the
no. Since it's all the Rabbanan in nature, the Rabbanan only kept it by what? By Kachim. When it came to the Pesach, where it's an Issachorus, if you don't eat the Korban Pesach, guys, Korban Pesach is Issachorus. The Mokim Chorus, the Chachamim were not minded, and they said you can eat. But that's not what we need. We need the part that said, by Kachim, you can't eat. Our Mishnah's inference, you don't get a piece of the action, but you could eat. So there's a stira. Our Mishnah says an Oinon could eat Kachim. That Mishnah, Psachim, says an Oinon cannot eat Kachim. That's the Kasha. That's the Kasha. One more time. Urimini Oinon Toivel v'oicheles Pischai le'erev. Avaloi b'Kachim. So how do you go ahead and reconcile that contradiction? Saying that our Mishnah says you could eat Kachim the Oinon, and that says you can't. So Rav Yomi Difti like Kasha. Kan our Mishnah speaking b'Pesach. You're right. It's not speaking about Kachim. Our Mishnah speaking about Pesach. Kan b'Shayim Hashana. And when it says Avaloi b'Kachim, it's speaking about what? Oh, now the Pesach. I did the Ochel Pesach. Ochel Nami Kachim. B'Shayim Hashana lechazi. Umay Avaloi b'Kachim. Avaloi b'Kachim shall call Hashana. Oh, guys, we're making ukimta. Our Mishnah is speaking about what? It's speaking about the Oinin on Pesach. It's Pesach, Erev Pesach, he loses a relative, right? Comes the evening, is he going to be able to eat? Yes. Why? Because for Machim Karis, we're going to say, we're not going to, it's the Rabbanon, we're going to say what? Now, Agav, that he can eat Pesach, we're going to allow him to eat other Kachim as well. But the other Mishnah, the Mishnah in Psachim is speaking what? Avaloi Kachim, it's speaking about all the rest of the days of the year. So there, you don't have any heta for the Pesach, because the rest of the days of the year, the merely you don't have a heta for Kachim. Yes, what do you mean?
If I'm not qualified to eat a Korban Pesach right now, can I be in the reservation now, even though I'm going to be qualified later on?
Yeah.
You could. It means I know that later on that there's a good chance I'm not.
We have all these big sugyas about tummy, where the person who's tummy that falls out it's even less. Anointing's the Rabbanon. We had shilas about tumah. We had shilas tumah during the day. Like, can you go ahead and do it? Right.
Because back I'm saying the item is only a night is during the day. That's why. So you do for sure at night you can be fine.
Yeah, right. Okay, so now, no, I'm saying, but that's so we have who came to the answer to stira. Okay, what's that stira? Our Mishnah says anointing doesn't get a piece of the action. The inference is we think he could. Mashman could he kachim. Mishnah in Psachim says an oinan can eat Pesach, but he can't eat kachim. So what's that teretz? Our Mishnah is speaking Pesach. Since it's speaking about Pesach and we have to eat the Pesach, who are then will matter other kachim. That's called an ukimton. And again, in learning again.
Just because of the chorus. So you have
that makes a lot of sense.
But
it's the Rabbanan. It's no Agav. Again, it's only the Rabbanan. It's not really midaraisa. You should be able to eat none. Midaraisa is no problem. The Rabbanan made the rules. They only made the rule in this scenario. It's geschmack. In other words, since you could eat the Pesach, their rule of not being able to eat kachim doesn't apply because it really midaraisa you could eat it. It's very good, Judah. Very good. The Mishnah that says you can't eat kachim there. So here's the way you read the Mishnah, guys. The Mishnah there in Psachim. It says, "Uminu oinin toivel v'oicheles pischoi le'erev avaloi b'kachim." But avaloi b'kachim the rest of the days of the year. Avaloi b'kachim the rest of the days of the year. Because taka on Pesach he could eat it. On Pesach, you guys, you see the way. On Pesach he could eat it. We're just saying in the rest of the days of the year. Okay, that's the teretz of Rav Yemia. Now we have it midifti. Now we have another teretz. Ravasi amalei kasha. Kan the Mishnah Pesachim shemeslei meis ba'arba asa. The meis died erev Pesach. The kivrui ba'arba asa, and the burial was in arba asa. Kan our Mishnah shemeslei meis b'shloisha asa. He died on the 13th, and therefore the kivru ba'arba asa. And then the kfura was on the 14th. So, geschmack. In the case where it was 14:14, you would not be able to even eat the Pesach in the evening. You would be able to eat the Pesach in the evening. Where it's the case, why? Because it was that, Aninus was the Raisa. If you look at Rashi, guys, let's see Rashi over here. Ravasi Yama, go down. Idi v'idi b'lo psachim. Both cases are speaking about on the Leil Pesach. B'lo kasha. Hahidi b'sachim shemes b'yadalid. The death of the relative was on the 14th. The kivra b'yadalid. Hilkach b'pesach oichel. You could eat the carbon Pesach. I'm sorry, I said you couldn't. You could. Avalei b'kachim. The aninis laila the yoimisa the rabbanan.
When the crew is. So about anyways, why don't you the crew is?
So now, since that day, we'll see in a second. That day you have aninis the rabbanan, correct? We'll apply that to what? This is Judah. This is, you'll be happy. This teretz, it's speaking Pesach. The 14th was what was Midaraisa. The 14th night was the Rabbanon. And you can't, the heta of Chayv Koris applied to what? The Pesach. It did not apply to Shar Kachim. Our Mishnah. You know when you died? On the 13th. That means the whole day of the 14th is what?
No.
What's the night?
Yeah.
Nothing. Therefore, what? You can even eat kachim. Therefore, you can even kachim. In other words,
Pull it back.
you pull it back. In other words, you went down another madrega. Guys, you here? One more time. Guys, one more time. We have the steer in the Mishnah. Our Mishnah says you could eat kachim, and that Mishnah says you can't eat kachim. So the first teretz was our Mishnah speaking about Pesach, and you had a waiver for the kachim. That's speaking about not Pesach, and therefore there's no waiver at all. That was Rav Yemi's teretz, midifti. Rav Asi's teretz. It's speaking both are speaking with Pesach. The ukimta was when did it die? According to the Mishnah Psachim, the death took on the 14th. So Inis was the Raisa on the 14th. The night is the Rabbanon. Pesach overrides the Rabbanon. Shar Kachim doesn't. So therefore you can't eat Kachim. Our Mishnah, the death took place on the 13th. So now the whole day of the 14th is the Rabbanon. Therefore the night is nothing. Therefore you can eat Kachim. You took it down one madrega, geschmack. Okay, that's the Ravasi's teretz. That's his ukimta. Each way, you guys, you have an ukimta. The first ukimta is speaking this Pesach and not Pesach, and this ukimta is what? When the death took place. And now the Gemara discusses aninus. Okay, says the Gemara. Let's see it inside. Ravasi Yom Lekasha. Kan the Mishnah Pesachim Shemesh Lemeis Bar Ba'asa v'Kivru Bar Ba'asa. And Kan Mishnah Shemesh Lemeis B'Shleish Asa v'Kivru Bar Ba'asa. Yom Kivur Leitafis Leiloi Midrabanon. Right? Okay. And Yom Kfura, the day of the Kfura, is like toughest Leilai Midrabanon, and therefore, right, the din is it's a ninis Rabbanon, right? And the Yom Kfura does not grab the day. So there, the 14th is Rabbanon. On the 13th, he doesn't have the day at all. Is nothing. The 14th at night is nothing. Mantan aninis Leilai Midrabanon, and therefore you're able to eat the Korban Pesach in the evening. According to everyone, guys, according to everyone, you can eat the Korban Pesach in the evening, right? Who says that Aninus is the Rabbanon? Rav Shimon he, the Tanya, Aninus Laila Midivrei Torah, Aninus Laila is Midivrei Torah, Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. We'll discuss this tomorrow. Rav Shimon Oima, Einin Eina Midivrei Torah, Ela Midivrei Seifrim. Good. So in other words, who's the Tana of the Mishnah in Psachim and our Mishnah? It's Rav Shimon. Shari Omru Oinin Toivel v'Oichles Pischai. An oinel can go to the mikvah and eat his Pesach le'erev. Avalei b'kachim. Says the Gemara, v'sav Reb Shimon aninus laila midrabanon. Now we're going to ask on that concept. Guys, we have the teretz. Now we're just going to question this din of eating baninus, the dirabanon. Where did you tell me Reb Shimon holds this way? I got a kasha. Vatanya. Reb Shimon oiner. Oinin einim mishalech karbanaisav. An oinin cannot go ahead and send his karbanos to be brought. My lav afilu Pesach. Why? Because aninus is the raisa. Loi levami Pesach, excluding the Pesach. Ivar Tanya, Reb Shimon Omer, by Shlomim it says, Vim Zevach Shlomim Karbonoi, Vim Zevach, Vayikra Gimel, Pasuk Aleph, Vim Zevach Shlomim Karbonoi. Kishu Shalem, Mevi, Ve'ena Mevi, Kishu Oinen. Shlomim, guys, Shlomim. You know what Shlomim means? Shalem. Then is the cup's in clear. When the cup is clear, right? Then it goes ahead and it can bring the carbon. Not when what? Not when it's fadreit. So therefore, an oinin cannot bring his carbon. Now, why do I need a proof, guys? That by Pesach he can't. Minayin l'rabba says a toida. How do you know include the toida also that an oinin can't send the toida, not just a shlamim? How do you know he can't send the toida? Ma'abani is a toida shkein nechel is besimcha kishlamim, and an oinim is not besimcha. Minayin l'rabba says a oila. Ma'abani yasa oila that he can't send it. Came ba beneder benedava kishlamim, and shlamim have to be shalim. Minayin l'rabbis b'chor ma'asu Pesach, guys. That's the key word. How do you know that even Pesach's included? B'chor ma'asu Pesach. Pesach also he can't bring. Ma'abani b'chor ma'asu Pesach shkein eina boyin al chet. Right? They don't come as a result of a chet. B'chor is Kodesh Merechem. Ma'asu is a result of you're tied in your crop. And Pesach is a chiyuv. So therefore, since that's your kasha, guys, your kasha's from there. We're going to continue the brisa, but there's your kasha. Rav Shimon says Pesach is included that it can't be what? It can't be sent. Rav Shimon said, "And this is the Rabbanon." So that's the kasha. Continues the brisa. Minayin l'rabbis chatas v'yasham tamalayim is zevach. It says v'im zevach shlam karbanai, and says the word zevach meaning any blood carbon. Minayin l'rabbis ha'oifais ha'menachos that are not blood karbanis, birds and menachos. Vayayin va'etzim, which are certainly not even live things. Vayna tamalayim shlamim karbanai. When it says shlamim karbanai, v'im zevach shlamim karbanai, kol karbanai shu maybe kishu shalim, maybe and maybe kishu einin. Right? Ketani miyas. What did you learn? Pesach. So you tell me that Madi also Aninis is what is the Rabbanon, and therefore you can go ahead and push off because of the chiyuv of covers of Pesach. You see that Pesach is included. Rav Chisda Pesach kedin aspa. Pesach kedin aspa. Guys, what does that mean? Anytime you see Bechor Ma'aser, you'll see Pesach. Why? Bechor Ma'aser and Pesach only need one matan of dam. In Ezim Mekomin, the Chatas needs all four. Shlamim, Oila, Shlamim, and Asham, Shnaim Shein Arba. Bechor Ma'aser, Pesach, only one. So Mela, Pesach Bichdinas, but we just learned to schlepped along. But Einachinami, the carbon Pesach, he could send. Why? Because I need to sell the Rabbanon. And the Mokan Karis, you're going to send it to eat. Again, you can't eat unless you play the game. You got to be in it to win it, right? You got to be able. You have to bring it now. Rav Sheish is somewhat different teretz. My Pesach, Shalmei Pesach. When it says Pesach, it doesn't mean the carbon Pesach. It means the shlomim that accompany the Pesach. Guys, you had Shalmei Chagiga. You had to eat the carbon Pesach when you were zat. Zat. You know what zat means? Satiated. Right, satiated. Right.
Having a falafel before you eat the pizza.
With shawarma.
He's telling you that eat the falafel before the pizza. Anyway, you have to be. So therefore, accompany the Pesach with Shalmei Pesach. So therefore, what we call Chagiga Yudalid, right? That you had to be satiated. So that's what it means, but it doesn't mean the carbon Pesach, right? Ihachi Hainu Shlamim. So what are you telling me? That's a Shlamim. You said Shlamim already. So what's the chiddush of Shalmei Chagiga Shlamim Pesach? So Tana Shlamim Haboy Machmas Pesach, Tana Shlamim Haboy Machmas Atzman. The Eloi Tana Shlamim Haboy Machmas Pesach. Sakra Chamin and Hoyel Machmas Pesach. Asi could go for the Pesach. Let me Kamash Malon. So you would think that what? If you didn't learn Shlamim, guys, you would think the following. You would think you could send Shlamim along with the Pesach because they get schlepped along, and you would think you would be able to bring it. Kamash Malon, you can't. In other words, guys, we're asking a kasha. What's a kasha? We're including all the kabbanis that you can't bring as a noinen. Among them is a shlamim and a pesach. The kasha is from Pesach. We're answering Pesach kedinas, but it's really learned agav b'chor ma'aser. It's not really there. Another teretz is it's not the korban Pesach at all. It's a shlamim. For the Gemara, if it's a shlamim, we already said shlamim. Said the Gemara, there's a difference between these two. This shlamim was brought by itself as a neder and a dava. This shlamim was brought because of the Pesach. Can you bring the Pesach?
Yes, sir.
What would you think, therefore? If the Shlomo Rabbi Machmas the Pesach, you would think you could bring it. Therefore, he's telling me you can't bring it.